under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, boys and girls, and welcome back to another edition of USMNT Yanks Abroad here on Stateside Footy. I know it's been a couple weeks. I had to take an impromptu vacation because, quite honestly, it was overdue. But here I am, back again to talk a little bit about the national team. And, of course, it is March, which means we are inching closer and closer to seeing the U.S. men's national team back in action. It seems like it's been forever and a day since we've seen our national team compete because, quite honestly, it has been forever and a day. And quite honestly, I was a little pissed off that we didn't have Camp Cupcake. But, you know, whatever, man. The powers that be at U.S. Soccer decided it was not important in a World Cup year. It is what it is. But so be it, because, listen, March kicks off at what I would consider a busy period for the U.S. men's national team. Of course, we have the March friendlies, and then come May, we have the World Cup roster announcement. And then, of course, in June, we have the World Cup, and here on Stateside Footy, we will have all of it covered. The live streams at the end of the month, we will be doing a live stream for the roster announcement, and of course, all U.S. men's national team games during the World Cup as well. Speaking of which, I do actually have a guest for this upcoming Thursday, as Thomas Deshane of Chasing the Cup will be joining me to talk a little bit about the March rosters as well as the responsibilities that this national team has of being a host nation. So that should be a fun conversation. That's coming up on Thursday. So do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming Stateside Footy content. All right, let's go ahead and get into it, because it was actually quite a fantastic weekend when it comes to the goals, when it comes to goal contributions for some of our pool players abroad. We begin as we always begin, which is the striker pool. And I do want to talk a little bit about Flo Balogun, because Flo Balogun has pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, has established himself as striker one for the U.S. men's national team. And for me, it was never really a question of whether or not he was going to be number one or not. I would probably assume at this stage, even coming into 2024, into 2025, I don't think that was really ever going to be a discussion outside of injury. Even when it came to form, I don't think that was really ever going to be in question. And now that we're another year into it, and of course he's been at Monaco now for more than a full season, he's already been embedded, and then now all of a sudden you're starting to see the benefits of that as well too. And of course, in the last 4 matches, he's scored 4 goals, including this one. And it looks like Monaco beat Angers 2-0. And of course, Balogun, 73 minutes. He did score a goal, had 2 chances created, 19 touches, 6 in the opposition box, which seems kind of low against a team like Angers. 10 of 11 of accurate passing, and it looks like he was 1 of 1 of accurate crosses. He also was 2 of 2 of aerial duels, and that's good for a 7.5 rating. Before I get to Pepe, let's go ahead and welcome in Natesky, by the way. What's going on, my brother? Let's see, Rhode Island FC home opener is, okay, there it is, Sporting Jacksonville. Okay. Good luck to, by the way, good luck to Rhode Island FC. By the way, I like Nate because every single time he comes into the chat, he always comes correct with Rhode Island FC. And I appreciate the fact that we have USL fans joining the show. All right, let's go ahead and move to Ricardo Pepi. And here's the interesting thing. Ricardo Pepi came back, scored a goal, and it seemed like he picked up where he left off this last weekend. In a 3-2 loss to NEC Nijmegen. He only appeared for 24 minutes, and of course this is probably what's going to happen at least for maybe another week or 2. He's going to get a start. The next appearance is probably going to be something small. This was certainly a case where he only had 5 touches, 1 of 3 of accurate passing. Not really much to rate in this one. That being said, it was NEC Nijmegen, and understand that, Nijmegen is exactly what they are, near Eredivisie. The most important thing right now for Ricardo Pepi is making sure that he builds back up to a full 90, and that by the end of this month that he's going to be raring and ready to go. So he's going to be able to be in the national team camp, and he's going to be able to start if needed. And so from that standpoint, this weekend was exactly what it was for Ricardo Pepi. But that being said, it's weird because as much as I actually do believe that Balogun flow is going to be the number 1, it almost feels like it's going to be 1A, 1B, and it's depending on the opponent is where Ricardo Pepi is going to fit into this one. Because there are going to be opportunities where we're going to have to be a little bit more direct, and we're going to have to need a guy like Ricardo Pepi, who's like kind of a back post poacher. And you know what? I'll tell you what, this dude is going to come in handy. And so from that standpoint, I wouldn't necessarily write him off as somebody that's going to be coming off the bench late to score goals. I actually think this is going to be depending on opponent is going to depending on where Ricardo is going to be starting. Haji Wright, and of course Haji himself has been on an absolute tear as well over the last couple weeks. Coventry beat Stoke City 2-1. Haji played 79 minutes, did score a goal, had 2 chances created, 30 touches, 9 in the opposition box, 6 of 12 of accurate passing. And it looks like he was also 3 of 5 in aerial duels. And this is the type of performance that you really want to see as we get closer to the March camps as well. Because, again, now all of a sudden Haji Wright is in that position where the form is starting to ramp up. And if you guys remember, Haji started the season on an unbelievable tear, goes into the October camp, scores a brace against Australia, and then he goes 17 matches in all competitions without any GA. And you were kind of wondering what was happening, and it kind of coincided with Coventry kind of slipping a little bit in the championship table. But that being said, everything is rebounded, and now all of a sudden Haji Wright is absolutely on a tear. And this is probably going to be one of the reasons why this team is probably going to get promoted. And of course, the idea of Haji Wright in the Premier League is kind of tasty in my opinion. But that being said, as of right now all of a sudden you have a third guy that's going to be in the mix. And one of the things that I like about Haji is depending on the formation in which we play, he's also multifaceted as well too, because he can also play on the left as well too. If you're going to go, an attacking 3 instead of, a 3-4-2-1, that type of situation. So from that standpoint, Haji Wright is going to provide cover in 2 different areas. And I think that's also going to be something that's going to be attractive for a guy like Mauricio Pochettino. But nonetheless, Haji Wright is like peaking at the absolute right time. And from that standpoint, I'm absolutely thrilled for him. And I'm hoping I'm hoping that this isn't a purple patch. What I'm hoping for is this consistency is going to continue between now and to the end of the season. and we're going to emerge with 3 capable strikers that are going to be able to punish you in multiple different ways. And so from that standpoint, I also think this is the opportunity where he could probably distance himself a little bit from a guy like Patrick Agyemang. We'll see. We shall see. Speaking of Patrick Agyemang, it looks like Derby County beat Blackburn Rovers 3-1. Agyemang in this one was playing out on the left-hand side of the attacking 3. He played a full 90, 54 touches, 5 in the opposition box, 11 to 21 of accurate passing, and that was pretty much it. Not a lot of quality shots on target. And it looks like he was 7 of 18 of ground duels, 5 of 8 of aerial duels, and really it was like a 6.5 rating. There was not a lot of meat on the bone in this performance. But that being said, it's like when Haji is actually a target 9, he gives this team a lot more in terms of tangible results when they try to stick it, like besides when they try to stick him on the left-hand side. But that being said, it's all dependent on exactly who's going to be available for Derby when it comes to injuries and something like that. And he's going to, play multiple roles. It also gives the same thing that Haji Wright is able to give as well too, and it gives you something else to think about. So that's me personally. I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly where Agyemang fits into this, because as we all know, Mauricio Pochettino loves himself some Patrick Agyemang, right? And so the question is when this whole thing is done and dusted, right? And if Haji Wright gets Coventry up and Patrick Agyemang gets Derby County up through the playoff, how does this thing settle out? Is this a situation where he brings 4 strikers? Maybe. Let's see. We got my man Ace Lionel. What's going on, my man? By the way, I absolutely hate Inter Miami. Just letting you know. I hope you're doing well as well too. I'm bitter because Seattle got off to a pretty decent start, only to shit the bed in Salt Lake City. It is what it is. I'm bitter. All right, let's move to the forwards now. We've got to talk about Christian Pulisic. I'm sorry, Pulisic. Of course, played 78 minutes, only 36 touches in this one, 4 in the opposition box, 19 of 22 of accurate passes, 2 into the final third. And yeah, he was 1 of 1 accurate long ball, 1 of 2 successful dribbles. Not a Christian Pulisic performance. And by the way, he has not scored a goal in 2026. A lot of that has to do with, reoccurring injury. I'm going to say this again I think it has got to be at least the 100th time I've said this. I don't care about Christian Pulisic. Like, he is going to come good. It's clear that he's suffering from a dip in form, and a lot of this has to do with reoccurring small injuries and not being able to be on the pitch consistently. There's a lot of start, stop over the course of the last couple months. It happens. But that being said, you don't have to tell Christian how important the March friendlies are. And you don't have to tell Christian just how important the World Cup is coming up this upcoming summer. He's aware. He's 100% aware. And he understands that the weight of the country is on his shoulders. And he's aware that if success is going to come for the U.S. men's national team, it's going to come through him. Yes, there's going to be other players that are going to potentially be stars. All that's great, but the straw that stirs the drink for the national team is number 10, Christian Pulisic. He is going to come good. 100% he's going to come good, just like he came good in 2022. He is, again, unless there's injury, like, you don't have to tell him. This right now is just a small time, a small moment in time, and I would probably assume that as soon as he's going to get continuous starts and the juices start flowing again, we are going to see quintessential Christian Pulisic. It's weird. Like a couple days ago, actually, as a matter of fact, it was this morning on Twitter. Some USMNT Twitter guys were showing clips from his Chelsea days. And it's like, oh, this is the guy that we miss. And it's like, that's still the guy, only better. It is what it is. It is what it is. These are the things that happen mid-season for Christian Pulisic. He just gets reoccurring niggling injuries, and it kind of messes with the season for a little bit, but ultimately it evens itself out, and he finishes strong. It's going to be fine. I only rated this a 6.5 rating because it's average at best, but I don't have any problems with Christian, and I would like to think that you guys don't either. It just is what it is, man. He's going to come good. Brendan Aronson, as a matter of fact, I think Leeds played Sunderland today and they lost 1-0. Aronson hasn't scored since the early portion of February. He played 74 minutes today, 40 touches, 4 in the opposition box, 13 of 20 of accurate passes, only 2 into the final third. Very un-Brendan Aronson-like. 1 of 3 of accurate long balls, 5 of 9 ground duels, 2 of 4 of aerial duels, only a 6 rating today. And it's weird. It's he is Mr. Purple Patch, but he's also Mr. Energy. He's the dude that will essentially run his balls off. And again, this is a guy that's going to make the World Cup roster. He's going to be he's that energy dude that you need at the end of your bench. And as far as I'm concerned, whatever happens this season with Leeds is essentially going to be icing on the cake. I don't think you can have a World Cup roster and exclude this dude. There's too many question marks in the forward position as is. When it comes to guys that are not named Pulisic and Tillman, anything underneath that, there's just too many question marks at this stage. It's going to be fleshed out in March. We're going to find out exactly what the pecking order when it comes to the forwards. But as of right now, I would probably assume Brendan's probably going to be there. Let's talk about Gianluca Busio, because again, he scored again, this time in a 4-0 victory over Avellino in Serie B. He only played 45 minutes, but he was absolutely fantastic. He had a goal on 3 shots, 59 touches in 45 minutes, 48 of 50 of accurate passes, 4 into the final third. He was one of one of accurate long balls, and that is good for an 8 rating as well too. And I've been saying that not only is Busio probably going to bring Valencia back up, but I think he's proven that he's too good for Serie B, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a move into the summer. As far as his inclusion on the World Cup roster, it's going to be interesting to see if this run of form is going to translate into a call-up for the March team, for the March roster. The interesting thing is I think, the conversations about who's earned it, sure, Haji's earned it. But really, if you're going over the numbers and you've been tracking stats for the last 3 months, so is Busio. The question is exactly where does he fit, right? He's not going to be playing higher up the pitch because he's not really a 10. He's more of a box-to-box guy, maybe a late box crasher. And is that something that works in the setup of what Pochettino is looking for? Because as we've seen in the last 2 camps, when he's playing a back 3 or a back 5, and you have the 2 in front of it, it's generally been 2 6s. It's not really been a 6 and an 8. Maybe a 6 has played somewhat of an hybrid 6-8 role, but generally it's been 2 holding midfielders. But that being said, it's like, okay, cool. So if Mckennie, by the way, makes this team, he's probably going to be playing higher up. He's not going to be, I guess you could say, a double pivot. He's not going to be in that double pivot further down on the pitch. He's going to be playing higher up. So, how does Busio factor into this one? And is this going to be something that's going to be, opponent, depending on the opponent type of situation, or is this something where is there any belief that maybe he can compete at this level? Those are very good questions. Let's talk about Ruktas Pukstas, the youngster that plays for Hajduk Split. They actually drew 1-1 with NK Veresden, and he was phenomenal, man. He played a full 90, had 2 chances created, 56 touches, 7 in the opposition box, 22 of 23 of accurate passes, 3 into the final third, 3 of 4 of successful dribbles, It looks like 8 of 14 ground duels, 9 of 10 aerial duels, and that was good for an 8 rating. This young kid is unbelievable. You look at his numbers and you're kind of like, God damn. But that being said, he's kind of playing in the Czech. He's kind of playing in the Czech league, and it's not exactly a world beater. So it's kind of hard to gauge exactly where that actually fits and whether or not this is something that is going to be of use in the 2026 cycle. Is this going to be more of a 2030 cycle? Because you probably assume that within a year or two, he's going to move up. And at that point, we're going to have a very accurate gauge about whether or not he's going to be somebody that can contribute to the national team. I just included him this week because, listen, I like giving shout outs to players that normally don't necessarily make the rundown. I do want to talk a little bit about Yunus Musah because Yunus scored. Yunus Musah scored his first goal for Atalanta in 23 minutes played. He scored one goal on his only shot. Actually, he had 2 shots. One of two. One was on target. 23 touches. 1 in the opposition box. He was dispossessed twice. 13 of 15 of accurate passing. None really into the final third, and that was pretty much it for Yunus Musah. A nice little 7 rating for Yunus, and it's nice to see it because Yunus has pretty much been non-existent in these rundowns because, quite honestly, the move to Atalanta probably wasn't the right move. And I understand the need to get out of AC Milan, but I don't necessarily know if this was the best for his career. I will say that I give him props for wanting to challenge himself. But you also have to understand exactly in the position that you're trying to challenge yourself against, whether or not that person has been like an entrenched starter. And also the reputation as well of that player as well too will determine your playing time. And it's really been touch and go for Yunus all season long. It's essentially been the exact same thing for Gio Reyna. We have no idea exactly how that's going to pan out for Gio. Same thing with Yunus, but it was nice that Yunus got on the board this weekend. It's a good moment for him as well too. But that being said, he still has the traits that a guy like Mauricio Pochettino likes. The question is how does he fit? There's going to be a lot of moving parts when it comes to this March roster, and I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Weston, who usually scores, and by the way, he did score against Galatasaray, which was absolutely nice. McKennie was playing as part of a midfield 3 in a 3-3 draw against Roma. Of course, West played the entire 90. Had 56 touches, 3 in the opposition box. He did miss a big chance. Only two shots. Both were off target. 56 touches, 3 in the opposition box. 32 of 42 of accurate passes, and it looks like 10 of those goes into the final third, which is absolutely crazy. 2 of 3 of accurate long balls, and dispossessed once. That's okay. He also had 6 recoveries, 2 of 3 ground duel, 2 of 3 aerial duel, and Wes is in a position where I think his roster spot is solidified, not just in the March friendlies, but also in World Cup 2026. I think this is the dude that is probably the hottest player on the U.S. men's national team at the current moment. I think it's not debatable. You might say Noah Kai Banks, but as of right now, we have no idea if he's going to be a long-term member of the U.S. men's national team, but clearly he's playing unbelievably well. Let's see. Ace says Musah moving on to the next round of the Champions League. Sure. And no, Atalanta is definitely moving on to the next rounds of the Champions League. Whether or not Yunus is going to play is something completely different. All right, let's turn our attention to some holding midfielders. Let's see. I think West should start for the national team. Yeah. I don't think it's an issue of think. I think it's pretty much it's. I think it's going to be a foregone conclusion, especially considering Tillman didn't necessarily play this last weekend. And as much as I like Malik Tillman, I think West has been exponentially hotter. And I don't think this is a purple patch when it comes to his form at all. Not even close. I think this is a second gear that we just haven't seen from Weston Mckennie. I think that's kind of what we're seeing. I think we're starting to see this dude come into his prime, and he's finally getting the recognition that he's absolutely deserves 100%. Let's talk about Tyler Adams because he's back, and I'm happy that he's back. Bournemouth drew 0-0 with Brentford. Exciting. He played a full 90, 37 touches, 42 of 46 of accurate passes, 4 into the final third, 1 of 1 of successful dribbles, 2 of 3 of accurate long balls, 12 defensive contributions, 7 recoveries, 3 interceptions, and that was good for a 7.5 rating. I think he took a yellow as well, too. Tyler Adams is constantly taking yellows. It seems like when he always plays, he's taking yellows. Not that it's a big deal or anything like that. I just kind of find it comical. Because he is that, like with Bournemouth, he is that little piece of sandpaper, that little that player that's kind of rough around the edges a little bit for Bournemouth. I wish that kind of rubbed a little bit off with the national team. I'm not saying he's been terrible with the national team or anything. It's just that he's kind of a thorn in the side in the Premier League, and he has that respect. But for the national team, I don't know. Maybe it's just bad. I don't know. It's hard to describe. He's not necessarily that same dude, and maybe it's just because Iriola has figured it out for him. I don't know. That's my theory at least. Tanner Tessman, Olympique Lyon lost 3-2 to Marseille, and it was the battle of the Olympique. As Tess actually played a full 90, had 60 touches. 38 of 47 of accurate passes, 5 into the final third, 1 of 1 of successful dribbles, 5 defensive contributions, 5 recoveries, 3 of 7 ground duels, 1 of 3 of aerial duels. This was a 6.5 rating. It wasn't his best performance. And when you concede 3, seems pretty obvious. But that being said, Tess is a proven commodity in Ligue 1. And I would assume, considering he's 24, about to enter his prime, I would probably assume there's going to be teams around Europe that are going to look at this and see a player coming into his own. And I think there's going to be a decent transfer fee for Tanner Tessman within the next year and a half. That is going to be that's my guess. Johnny Cardoso did play this weekend as Atletico dropped to Barca 3-0. Cardoso did play a full 90, 41 touches, only 16 of 22 of accurate passes, did have 11 defensive contributions, 4 interceptions, 5 clearances, and that was it. I had him at a 6.5 rating as well, too. But again, when you have that type of performance as a team and you drop it 3-0 to a team like Barcelona, ratings typically go down a little bit. Serginho Dest, when we talk about the wingbacks, Dest as PSV did drop the same thing, dropped to NEC Nijmegen 3-2. Dest played a full 90, 59 touches, 3 in the opposition box, 30 of 32 of accurate passes, 6 into the final third. He was 3 of 4 on successful dribbles, 7 defensive contributions, 6 recoveries, and it looks like he was 10 of 14 in ground duels, which is good for a 6.5 rating. But again, as a defensive unit, dropping 3 to NEC Nijmegen is embarrassing. It is what it is. It is what it is. Usually he's just like Anthony Robinson. And by the way, Jedi did not play against Spurs this last weekend. It was a win against Spurs. But he did not feature in that one. But both of these guys usually are typically right around that 7.5 rating pretty much every single week. They're essentially proven commodities. It just maybe it just wasn't necessarily PSV's weekend. Let's talk about John Tolkien because it looks like Holstein Kiel drew 1-1 with Elversberg. He played a full 90, had 72 touches, 34 of 40 of accurate passes, 2 into the final third, 2 of 5 of accurate crosses, 2 of 2 of accurate long balls. He took 4 corners, 14 defensive contributions, 5 tackles, 9 clearances, 5 of 9 in ground duels, 5 of 7 of aerial duels. That was good for a 7.5 rating. And this is a dude that just keeps going up and down. It's like he has a good match followed by a kind of like a mid match. And it's for a while there, it was very consistent with John Tolkien. And lately it's just kind of seems like every other week it flip flops. Ace Lionel says, to be fair, Johnny played okay, but it was against Barcelona. Yeah, but like that's the thing. It's like you're part of the defensive unit, required to limit the damage against a team like Barcelona. And, then you get pumped 3-0. It is what it is. Timmy Weah. And, of course, Olympique Marseille beat Olympique Lyon 3-2. Weah played 84 minutes, had 58 touches, 38 of 43 of accurate passes, 2 into the final third, 1 of 1 of accurate crosses, 3 of 4 of accurate long balls, 3 of 5 ground duels, 2 of 2 aerial duels. That's good for a 7 rating. And Weah, oh man, it's hard to judge Weah. It really is. As far as I'm concerned, it's like the only leg up is the fact that Alex Freeman has really only featured once for Valencia, and Weah has been a consistent performer in Ligue 1, and at times he's been very good, and at other times he's just been okay. I just wanted that was my thing with Weah this season. I just wanted to see that consistency. I wanted to see that next step. And of course, you're going to Ligue 1 from Juve, right? And so typically, like, in all fairness, you're kind of taking a little bit of a step backwards because Ligue 1 is not, I wouldn't say in the same stratosphere, but it's a weak league compared to the consistency of Serie A. And I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to see him put together a full season where you're just kind of like, ooh, there you go. And it hasn't necessarily been that. I'm not saying that he's had a bad year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, consistency wise, it's like he's been in purple patches this year. And his performances have been good, maybe just not great. That's all I'm going to say. I think Weah is definitely going to have a part on this team. I think he's going to be a part of the World Cup roster. Do I think that he's a starter? I'm not convinced. I'll just say that. Let's move to center backs. Chris Richards, Crystal Palace lost 2-1 to Manchester United. And Richards played a full 90, had 77 touches, 52 of 60 of accurate passes, 4 into the final third, 9 defensive contributions, 2 interceptions, 5 clearances, and I think that was okay. It was an okay performance and didn't necessarily pass the eye test. Usually Richards passes everything, numbers and eye test wise. This one, I don't know, man. It was hard to explain. It just didn't pass the eye test for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything because he is right now our best center back in the pool. Probably him and Noah Kai Banks are probably 1-2 as far as form as of right now. And of course, before we wrap it up, we're going to have this discussion because it's important. Mark McKenzie and Toulouse lost 1-0 against Stade Rennais. He played a full 90, had 46 touches, 29 of 36 of accurate passes, 8 into the final third, 5 defensive contributions, 2 tackles and interceptions, 2 of 5 of ground duels, and that was good for a 7 rating. McKenzie was playing on the left side of a back 3, and I think this is important because we actually have to have a conversation. And for the most part this season, he's been playing on the left side of the back 3. So from that standpoint, I understand, like, you like it, but if you're a right-footed player, but you also have a strong weak foot, I don't think it necessarily matters in this case. And of course, we're going to have to talk about that in just a second. Noah Kai Banks and Osberg beat FC Cologne 2-0. Noah, by the way, played a full 90 and had an assist in this one. 2 chances created, 47 touches, 4 in the opposition box, 28 of 34 of accurate passes, 3 into the final third, 2 of 3 of accurate long balls, 5 defensive contributions, 4 clearances and interceptions, 2 of 2 at air duels. Defensively, he saw in the air, and that, Villarreal, sorry. And that is good for an 8 rating. I knew it was a Spanish team that started with a V. Actually, I knew it was Villarreal. I said Valencia. I knew it was Villarreal. And Noah Kai is in that position where he's a starter, in my opinion. Not just for the March friendlies, but also for the World Cup as well, too. Normally, you have a little bit of a reservation having a teenager in the center back, starting as a center back, just because you're wondering whether or not the lights are going to be too big. Maybe there might be a case of deer in headlights, but I don't think this kid. I don't think that, like, it's like you're playing in the Bundesliga and you're playing against some very big opponents and you're holding your own against these type of opponents. And me personally, I just think Noah Kai has taken that next step right before our entire eyes. And I think it's kind of undeniable at this point. Let's just finish this up real quick and then we'll get into it. Austin Trusty, by the way, Celtic beat Stuttgart 1-0. Austin played a full 90, 57 touches, 37 of 39 of accurate passes, 3 into the final third, 4 of 5 of accurate long balls, 15 defensive contributions, 2 tackles, 4 blocks, and it looks like that is 5 clearances, 2 of 3 ground duels, 2 of 3 aerial duels, and that's good for a 7.5 rating. Now, and by the way, Austin should be a part of this conversation as well, too, because if you're one of those type of people that feel like left-footed players need to be in left-sided positions, okay, cool. As far as left-footed center backs go, he's probably the best right now for the pool. If you guys were watching Major League Soccer this last weekend, Tim Ream kind of looks like a 38, 39-year-old playing football. There was a sequence where he was absolutely burned off the edge. He looked slow, and it didn't necessarily look like his positioning. Like, that was the one thing that, even though that he was never really the fastest dude, he always had good positioning, and he's always good with the ball at his feet. And it doesn't even look like he's got that positioning anymore. And I understand it was like a 30-second clip. But that being said, you're kind of looking at it and you're looking for certain characteristics, and you're kind of like, okay, well, is it just a bad play, or is it a sign of something that could be a little bit more? And it looks like he just didn't have it. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays between now and the end of the month before I actually, make that 100% my opinion. But what I will say is that, for a fact, Mark McKenzie can play on the left side of the back three. And me personally, would I rather have a left-footed player in a left-footed position? Yes, unless you have a very good center back that has a very good weak foot, meaning that he's not going to be out positioned. And Mark McKenzie is that type of player. And when you consider that Noah Kai Banks has put himself in a position where it's kind of seems undeniable, that back three in March should be McKenzie, Richards, and Banks, period. If you want to bring in Joe Scally as backup, okay. Me personally, Austin Trusty comes into this conversation because, again, like I don't give a shit where you're playing. If you're consistent and you're consistently good to a point where it looks like you should not be playing in the Scottish Premier League, but you could be playing in a higher league, okay, whatever. He's done that. And he's also been called in And he's also played and hasn't looked like a liability. And so from that standpoint, like Austin should probably be a part of this, squad as well too, at least from the backup position. It makes 100% sense, right? So, but that being said, it's like if you want to bring Scally in as a backup for this, center the right position, okay, whatever. But the way that I look at this is now Tim Ream, and this is why we need. By the way, this is why you need the January camp for this reason particularly. So you can actually get a look at a dude like Tim Ream and make your own evaluation. Because if the game has passed him by, and it happens to everyone, you get to see it. You get, like, if you're Mauricio Pochettino, you get to see it, and you also have time to formulate a plan. But because we don't have that anymore, or at least until next December, when it's completely irrelevant, now all of a sudden, this is what you have to look at. You, unless you're there in Charlotte seeing it, or whatever the case may be, you're seeing it just like the way, just like everybody else is seeing it, like on some of these clips or whatever the case may be, or maybe you're getting video of it, whatever. I'm sure that's what it is. Now all of a sudden, it's like you're like, oh now all of a sudden maybe things change, and now you're going to have to think of something different going into the March friendlies. Is this something where you still bring in Tim for leadership? Is he a mascot? Because from football wise, yeah, he got completely outmatched. He got completely outmatched, and it was painful to look at. It was painful to look at, and it's like, listen, is it a risk to have No Kai in? Maybe. But here's the thing. He will roll with the US if he understands that he is going to be starting in a World Cup. Like, I know some of the things that he said, like playing in a World Cup is his biggest dream, but he doesn't necessarily want to blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. Because he doesn't know. He doesn't necessarily know exactly which way Pochettino is going, which is probably why, which is probably a thing that Pochettino should be looking at this, like making this decision, like with his coaching staff now, and making sure that what happened this last weekend with Tim Ream, if that's an isolated incident, okay, cool, we'll see it. And if it's not, we're going to see it. And from that standpoint, you're looking at a dude like Mark McKenzie, who has been consistently playing well on the left side of a back three. And now this is an opportunity where you have two very good opponents at the end of this upcoming month. But that's why you play them. You play those three, and whatever growing pains that they're going to have, at least they're going to get them out of their system in these friendlies, right? That's going to be vital to be able to create continuity and chemistry between your across your back three. That's exactly why you play them. And I think me personally, like I didn't, we've seen Tim Ream over the last year, and like essentially since Copa America 2024, where even then it seemed kind of obvious that maybe, Tim's days were numbered. But, Pochettino continued to bring him in because, really, center back, especially on the left side, it's kind of thin domestically, even thinner internationally. But that being said, in the last year and a half, Austin Trusty has kind of emerged as somebody that can give you consistency at that position, and so has Mark McKenzie. And now you have the emergence of a dude like Noah Kai Banks that actually gives you something a lot better. And one of the things that I like about Noah Kai is the fact that he's good in the air. It's something that we don't have with the national. Like, we haven't had a very good, a very good aerial threat at center back since Bocanegra. Like, it's been a while since we had a center back that can go up, on a set piece and potentially score a goal, or can potentially defend through the air as well too. It's something that I've been bitching about over the last couple of years. It seemed like maybe at times Walker Zimmerman was that kind of guy for a while, but Noah Kai Banks has emerged now where it's like you don't necessarily you don't necessarily need to carry a Joe Scally as a, as a legit option. There's no need to carry a Miles Robinson anymore either. Like, I think he's separated himself from those type of guys. Now it all depends on backup. Like, how are you going to facilitate those backup positions? Like Joe might work as a backup option, maybe even an Alex Freeman as well too, who's kind of quietly emerged as one of those hybrid right back, right center back type of players. But that being said, it's like, you want your starting back three is to be as strong, as solid as you possibly can. And if Tim Ream if that inclusion is still going to happen, like, I understand them doing their due diligence. I get it. You have to make sure that what we saw this last weekend was either a blip or if it's legit. But that being said, it's like going into a World Cup, there cannot be question marks heading into it. Like, every position on the field has to be the best option that is available. And I don't think Tim Ream is that guy. And it sucks because he got a late start with the national team, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is. If I can't really think of a center back who was a vital piece to the national team that was 38 plus. A comparison isn't necessarily there for me. But if it was like we saw last year, where it looked like he was still holding his own, you can kind of understand the logic behind it. But this, I don't think you can anymore. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Just a quick reminder that on Thursday, I will be welcoming Thomas DeShane of Chasing a Cup to the program as we talk about the March rosters, and we will break that down, the expectation and what we want to see, as well as World Cup 2026 and the responsibility of this team and what does that mean to this country. And we'll be talking a little bit about that. And of course, we might be talking a little bit of history of the national team, because I'm kind of a nerd and I enjoy the history. So that being said, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming Stateside Footy content. Thank you guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Good night.
Rusted goalposts under fading skies.